And with that, I am now so excited to introduce our speaker for today. So Nicole is a Chinese American first generation immigrant. She has traveled to 41 countries, and she took her first solo trip when she was 16 to volunteer in Costa Rica for a month. She speaks Mandarin and Spanish, and she did go to business school, but after working for 2 years, she realized that the corporate life wasn't really for her. So at the age of 24, she quit her corporate job to travel full time. And now she is here today to share with us all about her adventures and inspire us to hopefully do the same. So Nicole, I'll let you take it over from here. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I'm Nicole. I'm currently in Sayulita, Mexico. I've been backpacking around Mexico for like the last 3 months. So that's been really fun and also like really good for the budget. So if you ever want to take like a solo trip somewhere where you're on a tight budget, I feel like Mexico is a great place. But yeah, I can start my presentation now. Cool. All right. So, and yeah, like Laura said, I'm 24 and I recently quit my job this year, and it's been like very exciting since. So yeah, a little bit about me. I know Laura mentioned a lot of this already, but another thing is that I really never intended to be a full-time traveler. I actually had a job to teach English in Shanghai this September, but it got canceled because I think like the Chinese government canceled their teaching contracts. So when I found out about that, I was actually on a vacation in Mexico, and I was only supposed to be here for like a week and a half, but I just like ended up staying because I didn't have any other plans, and like financially I was able to. So I've been here for like the last 3 months. But yeah, so what I'm going to talk about today, how I quit my job at 24 to travel full time, where I traveled to the last year, how I stretched my budget, traveling for free by volunteering, which I've done a little bit of the past year, and some financial advice for young travelers. I know like I'm not super qualified to talk about that, but like if you want to just take some of it, I don't know, it could help. And safety for women as a solo traveler, and just like how to make friends as a solo traveler, because I think a lot of people think that it can be lonely, but honestly, like while I've been traveling, I don't think I spent maybe like 1 or 2 days by myself completely, and the rest like I've been with other people or like people that I just met, which is really nice. Okay, so how I quit my job to travel. So I quit in May, and I started planning for this around like last year that time, and I saved around $10,000, and I was really lucky because I moved home during COVID, so I didn't have as many expenses, and I think that was the biggest thing. But also when I realized that I wanted to travel, I kind of shifted my priorities with spending, and just like realizing that I didn't need as many like material things and that kind of thing. And yeah, and for the 10K number, that was just the goal that I had for myself, where I was able to say like, okay, I can confidently quit my job and have enough of a financial like safety net. But I definitely did not need as much as I had saved, because I've met so many other people who have been traveling who have so much less saved, and like they're doing perfectly fine, and they're like volunteering around, or they're just like, I guess, spending more carefully, because when I am traveling, I could be cooking more, or I could be taking public transportation more. So there are definitely ways where I could be saving more money, but I'm just like, whatever, like I'm enjoying myself. But yeah, and then also just the fact that I've heard so many people say like in my life that you kind of have to wait until you retire to enjoy yourself is just like, I don't know, like kind of painful and sad, because like after working for 2 years, my job wasn't even really hard or anything. I was just so burnt out, and especially with COVID, I just had like a shift in my priorities, and I realized a lot with like my mental health and everything. So yeah, it's definitely possible to not wait until retirement to travel long term, and to like enjoy yourself. And I always say like, you can always make more money, you can always start your corporate career later, but like you aren't always going to be able to travel when you're young. like at another time in your life. So you might as well just do it if you can, if you really want to. But yeah. And then where I've traveled to since I quit, my first trip was in Guatemala. And I think that's probably one of the best places for backpackers because it's like super affordable. And it's really easy to get around the country because there's good like public transportation, buses and stuff. And there's also so much to do. Like I hiked a volcano, I went paragliding, and then did a bunch of other cool hikes near Lake Atitlan. So it was really nice. And I also have a like itinerary for Guatemala on my website, whotravelstheworld.com, if anyone wants to check it out. And then I also I did around 2 months in Europe this summer. So I went to Croatia, Poland, and Mallorca. Croatia was really nice because it was like right when Europe opened up. So it wasn't very busy, and it was really nice to like just chill and meet people and kind of relax. And when I went to Poland, I was there for about a month, and I traveled for free by volunteering for 3 weeks with Anglaville. It's this Polish program where I'm gonna go into more depth about it, but it's you basically just like volunteer and talk to Polish people in English. Like that's all you do all day is just speak in English to them. And it's really nice because you can talk about like anything, and um, like everyone that I met while doing it was really cool, and like you can, I don't know, they'll like talk to you about like Polish culture, and like you learn a little bit about like politics and like kind of controversial topics too, because I don't know, I feel like Poland is seen as like kind of controversial politically right now, so that was really interesting to learn about. And then Mallorca, I kind of just went because I wanted like a chill beach vacation, but it's not necessarily very budget friendly or very cheap at all. So I don't know if I would recommend that for like backpackers. And then Mexico, yeah. So I've been here the last 3 months, and I've been kind of all around besides the Cancun, like Tulum region, because I've already been there. But this is probably the best place where I've stayed on my budget and just like stayed very consistent with my spending, which has been really nice. And then yeah, so stretching your budget while traveling long term. Um, I honestly didn't really have a plan for it, but I think the biggest like cost for me is accommodation. So I always try to stay in hostels. Um, and it's really nice because hostels usually have like breakfast included and some free activities like walking tours, and like maybe bar calls and stuff like that. And in Mexico, I don't think I've ever spent more than $20 on a hostel a night, which is really nice. And I have a bunch of like good recommendations for hostels here that are really affordable. Like a few weeks ago, I was in San Cristobal, which is in the most southern state of Mexico, and the hostel was like $9 a night, and they have like free alcohol, free breakfast, and free dinner, and like a bunch of tours that you can sign up for, which is amazing. So yeah, there's like so many great options like that. And then another big thing I think is having a daily spending budget. So I aim for like $30 to $40 a day, which is about like $1,000 a month. And there are definitely days where I exceed that. But then other days like I'm a little under, or like I'm doing okay. So and I think that helps a lot with the hostel thing, because like if you're spending $10 to $15 on a hostel night, and then the rest of it kind of goes towards like um, food or like an excursion. But a lot of times I also do like free daily activities like going to the beach, or um I've like in Sayulita especially, it's really safe. So it's really easy to like hitchhike and go to like other places. So that's like kind of the transportation method I've been using. And then yeah, I also try to do free activities like walking tours, beach days, or like if I meet a group of people, like splitting a cost like that. And then also, uh, yeah, and then public transportation is a big one because it's so much cheaper than like Uber and taxis. And in Mexico, there's really good like small bus systems called like colectivos, where it's probably about like $1 for a ride to go pretty far. But I'm not as good about that as I should be because I'm just like kind of lazy, but it's definitely like there are always options for public transportation if you want to save money that way. And then another big one is cooking or just eating street food. Like in Mexico, it's really easy to just like eat street food because it's like really good and filling and very affordable, like $3 for like 4 tacos. And then cooking too, like it's really nice because in hostels there's always a kitchen, but I am also not as good as that as I should be, but I will cook like if because it's a fun thing if I'm with other people, but on a day-to-day I'm not as good as about cooking, but that's okay. And then so other tips for stretching your budget, I usually don't book excursions online anymore because I've realized like in Guatemala and Mexico, if like there's something that you want to do online, like a hike or um, a boating thing, you can always find it with locals for so much cheaper, and you can usually negotiate a good price too, especially if you have like a big group with you. So that helps a lot. Like I remember when I was in Guatemala, I wanted to do this cool hike, and I think they listed it on like Airbnb experiences, but it was probably like 40 US dollars. Um, but then when I was in the area in Guatemala, I met a tuk-tuk driver, and we told him that we wanted to do that hike, and he was like, "Oh, I can take you. Like, I also have this like tour on his tuk-tuk," and he let us do the tour for about like half as much, which was really nice, and I guess like that way you feel better about like supporting the local economy, and paying locals like directly instead of big companies. So I think that's like a big thing for saving money, and also just like supporting local economies. And then if you are planning on traveling long term, I feel like the best thing would be like researching the cost of living, and making sure it's kind of less than where you already live. Like in the US, I feel like most places like Central or South America, Eastern Europe, Asia, which I feel like most people know about Asia and Central South America, but also like Eastern Europe is very affordable. Poland was like way cheaper than Western Europe, and there's so much to do. And I feel like that's the same with like Ukraine, like East Germany, that kind of thing. And they're definitely worth visiting as well. Yeah, exactly. And then, oh, so I would say that flights are the most expensive usually in terms of like your whole budget and all of the spending that you're gonna do. So I try to like get as many free flights as possible just by spending with miles or my credit card points. So I think that's like one of the biggest things because like flights to anywhere can be like a couple $100s. So once you have that like put aside, then everything else is kind of so much easier. And then, yeah, another thing would be figuring out how easy it is to get around the country so that you can make the most of it and like kind of see all of it if you're slow traveling or traveling long term. Like, for example, Mexico has a really good system, which I didn't really realize, because you can take a bus to just about like anywhere overnight for like even like 12-hour buses. They're like really affordable. And that's also just like a night of like accommodation saved up as well. So yeah, I would say that those are like the biggest things to consider spending wise while traveling. And then how to travel for free. So like I said, I did one volunteer program this year with Anglaville, which was really awesome. But obviously there are a bunch of volunteer programs. So I know like the big ones are Workaway and World Packers. And I have found that just from meeting people who have volunteered at hostels, that if you do World Packers, you should definitely message the hostel directly on Instagram to get a more direct response because a lot of times they don't necessarily check the apps or it says that they're full. But if you message them on Instagram, they're usually always updating their social media, so they'll respond a lot faster, and it'll be a lot easier and more timely to like get a response and like to be able to volunteer with them. And usually with hostels, you would get like I'm pretty sure free housing and free food usually, which is really nice if you want to save money because, like I said, those are usually the biggest expenses. And you would only be working for like, I think most people that I met who volunteer work for maybe 6 hours a day and have like 3 days off during the week. So it's pretty chill. And then for other programs like Anglaville, where you get to volunteer and travel for free. So this was the one that I did. I did it in Poland for 3 weeks. And the only thing that you have to pay for is your flight there. but while you're there, you get like free accommodation. So they'll bus you to the camp, and it's a hotel, and it's usually a pretty nice hotel, and there's free food, and you kind of just stay at the camp for a week. And it's really fun. Like I said, you just talk to people, and I did one with adults, kids, and teenagers. So like I did all different age groups, and it was like really fun. And there's usually a day where you can do like an activity. So like one day for the kids, we had like an all day carnival, and it was so much fun. And if you volunteer for like 3 or more weeks with Angloville, they'll also give you a free TEFL. So then you can start teaching English online or like anywhere in a different country, which is really nice. And I don't know if anyone has ever checked out Angloville, but they also have programs in other countries in Europe, like Hungary, Malta. I think they do some in like um, France, maybe. But I know like online it doesn't seem like very legitimate, I guess, but it definitely is. And yeah, like when I got to the spot where they said they would meet, there was a bus waiting and everything. So definitely worth it if you want to try it. And you can also do just like a week. And yeah, like it's super easy. There aren't really any requirements needed. You just want to be able to like talk to people. So yeah, it's very chill. And then yeah, so for some financial advice, if I don't know, this has helped me a lot with traveling. I would say like join mileage programs for airlines every time you fly, just to build up miles. Even if you might not think you'll fly that airline again, you can always like you might fly an airline that'll be in the same alliance, or like maybe you'll fly that airline again and you'll have some miles built in. So it's just nice to accumulate points. And yeah, I would say that definitely helps, like no matter where you are or like what airline you're flying. And then also I have a travel credit card. So I have one for United and Capital One Venture. So for the United card, it's really nice because I usually fly with them, and they're a hub in Chicago where I'm from. So it's really easy to rack up points, and you get a lot of benefits such as like free check bags and like that kind of thing. And then with the Capital One Venture, or I know like Chase Unlimited is also like this, where there's no international fees with credit cards, and also um, you just there's no international fees, and you're also able to get like points every time you spend, which is really nice. So I know like a lot of this is like a very American issue, but like most countries spend on debit, but like Americans spend on credit, so you might as well like utilize that and I don't know, like make the most of it and kind of make money while you're spending. And because like so when I travel, I always prefer to spend with credit cards versus cash, just because you can make some money while you're doing it. um and I would also say, yeah, so I also whenever I take out cash in ATMs, I always use the local currency versus um like converting it into US dollars, because every time you convert it you lose some money, but if you use the local currency then your bank gives you like the economy's exchange rate, I think. So yeah, I would always recommend to just use the local currency, and if the ATM ever asks you to like exchange it, then I say no, and then it'll still give you the money. And then also, so the past year I haven't really worked online at all, um, or done any work since I quit my job, but I know it's like very easy to find work while you're traveling and travel like kind of while working. I know a lot of people like teach English, which is nice, through like Cambly and other websites, or you can also freelance. And yeah, I didn't do it, but I have my TEFL, so I potentially could. And also, like with the whole quitting my job thing, I did last year during COVID, I spent a month and a half in Tulum just like working from home. And it was nice, but also it was just like very, like you're always thinking about work in the back of your mind. And I kind of didn't really want that anymore because it was still pretty draining and exhausting. So I kind of wanted to like not think about work at all. Because I feel like even if you're in a different location, but you still have to think about work, like that doesn't help with burnout and stress at all. So yeah, I just chose to, I don't know, not do that. But in the future, I think when I keep traveling, I'm probably going to find some work just to be able to like save a little bit more money. And then, yeah, for some advice on how to make friends and safety as a solo traveler, I would say that like if you haven't taken a solo trip, this is probably the most intimidating part. But it's very easy. Like I said, I've only spent maybe like 1 or 2 days completely by myself in like the last 3 months. And my biggest tips are to stay in hostels. There's always people traveling and like backpacking by themselves, so it's super easy to meet people. You can always try like dating apps. I've met some cool people from like Bumble and Hinge, and you can kind of just say that you're traveling by yourself and like don't have any expectations. I don't know, I guess like with men. But yeah, like, and it's always been fun. Like in Majorca, that's how I met one of my really good friends. And then he had a car, so it was really nice to just like be able to get around and like see different parts of the island. And other Facebook groups, there's a ton of like solo traveler groups, like I think like Young Travelers Network, or you can always search like expats in the city. And that's always great for like if you want to message people to reach out, or before you go somewhere, if you have any questions about the location, that's also really easy. And then I guess just like the old fashioned way of like going up to people, I think that's kind of intimidating, but it's also kind of fun to like challenge yourself and just like go for it. If you see someone else like eating at a cafe or like by themselves, you can always just be like, hey, like I'm by myself too, do you want to hang out for the day or something? And I met some really cool people by doing that as well. But I know that that's probably like the most intimidating, but it's also like a fun challenge if you're already out of your comfort zone while you're traveling, so you might as well just like go for it. And if they're like, oh, I don't really want to, like you'll never see them again, so it's okay. And then yeah, so tips to stay safe as a female solo traveler. I would say, I mean, the biggest thing for me um, is that I try not to look approachable when I'm just like walking around or like walking alone at night if I have to do that. Because, and I guess like for me, the biggest thing is that when I travel, I don't dress like the most conservatively. And I feel like for Americans, that's completely normal, but like going to any other country, people will stare. Um, and it's just kind of like, and like I'm not gonna change how I dress just based on where I am, but I think just looking like not super friendly kind of helps, because then people won't come up to you or like make you uncomfortable or like try to talk to you. And then another big one is like I don't tell strangers where I'm staying or that I'm traveling alone unless like I know that I can trust them, or it's like someone that you're like hanging out with, because then it's fine. But yeah, otherwise like I kind of say that like my friends are waiting somewhere or something, or just like I try not to engage if it's like a creepy person. And then a big one is sharing my location with I always have my location shared with my parents, just so they know that like even it doesn't really matter what I'm doing, but like they know that I'm like somewhere, so they know I'm safe. And then another big one is I always stay in hostels, and I usually choose to stay in co-ed rooms because it's like cheaper, and I've never really had issues in terms of like men there. But I always sleep with my purse and my passport, just so I don't know, just because I know it's like a little safer. And I always try to like lock things if I can. And yeah, and I guess for safety, like I've never really felt unsafe while I'm traveling. Or if I do, like I try to just like exit the where I am really fast. And yeah, like I guess for women, it's honestly not any more dangerous than you would be like in a big city in the US or like at home somewhere. So I feel like if the main reason that's stopping you from taking like a big trip or like solo traveling is safety, I feel like that's not something that you should worry about as much as like it seems like I know um like the media makes it seem like traveling by yourself isn't very safe, but I've never really had any issues, and I've always felt comfortable like wherever I am. And there will be bad parts in like if you're in a city, like if you're in Mexico City, there might be like one small area that's like a bad part, but like you'll know to avoid it, and like people will like tell you. So for the most part, it's completely safe, and yeah, I would 100% recommend it. Um, but oh, whoops, sorry. Yeah, and then, um, I think that was my last slide. So yeah, does anyone have any questions? But yeah, you can definitely ask me anything about like literally whatever. I'm an open book, and I'm very open about like talking about even like I know like money is kind of taboo for I don't know, just like culturally. But yeah, just you can for sure ask me anything.
Nicole, amazing presentation. We actually have
Thank you.
so many questions. So
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm gonna get through them all. And then if you guys think of more, just ask them in the chat box and we'll get them answered. Okay, so the first one, let's see, was kind of talking about money. So you just mentioned
Okay.
that. So
Yeah.
from Alex, how do you get income going while traveling? So at some point you have to start adding to the bank account. So I know you mentioned you had some saved. So what's your next plan moving forward?
Yeah, so I think so I'm actually leaving Mexico next Tuesday, but I think my next big trip I'm gonna try to go to Colombia, maybe in like December after the new year. And for that, I'm gonna try volunteering with I think World Packers, or I'm also while I'm at home, I'm gonna set up a Cambly account so I can teach English with my TOEFL. Yeah, so then that way it'll be easier. And if I do want to do that while I'm traveling, you can set your own hours. And I think the pay is about like 12 hours or $12 an hour, which is pretty good if you're traveling in like in a country where the cost of living is a lot less. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Oh my gosh, first of all, you guys are amazing. I just said ask more questions and the chat box is going crazy. So I'm just gonna piggyback on what you were talking about, your plans. So both Laura and Kinsey were curious about your upcoming travel plans, how long you plan on traveling and just, what your future plans are
Yeah.
after Colombia.
So I'm kind of bad about that because I honestly am like not a good planner. And like with my Mexico trip, I didn't plan this at all. Like I kind of just went with it. But I think after Colombia, I might want to try to do like a lot more of South America because I haven't really been yet. So maybe just traveling through South America, and I know it's pretty easy to get around. And I guess if I meet other people in Colombia who like inspire me to go other places, then I guess I'll do that. But yeah, for now, I was thinking like maybe a few months in Colombia, and then I know so like I said, I was planning on teaching English in China, and it didn't work out. So I think next year I'm gonna try teaching English in Spain, because it's like it's a very stable program, and the pay is pretty good, and I already speak Spanish and Mandarin, so I want to become like very fluent in those languages. So yeah, I definitely want to teach in a place where I can like speak one of those languages. I don't know
Okay.
if that helps.
No, that's great. This actually leads me into my next questions. But first, do you mind just stop sharing your screen? That way we can
Oh
see
yeah.
everyone, and then you can see the chat box too if you need to.
Okay.
But we did have a lot of questions come in regarding teaching. So maybe you can
Okay.
explain a little bit more about that. So one person was asking suggestions for ways to find these teaching positions abroad. So maybe you can start by that. And what's the
Yes. So I got my TOEFL through um I got it online, so you have to have a TOEFL to teach English, I'm pretty sure, unless you have like a different degree, but like I studied business, so I didn't have anything to do with teaching. But I found one on Groupon. It was like for like $40, and then it's like a 120-hour certificate. So it's like really easy to do, and it's like accredited too, so like you can teach anywhere with it. But basically for teaching English, there's a ton of different like boards where you can look at different jobs. And when I was gonna do the one I did in China, I signed up through CIEE. It's an American company where it places you in different schools, so it makes it a lot easier. And you just interview through them. And with that, and I also studied abroad with them. I studied abroad in Sevilla in college, and it was like a really good program, and I loved it. So that's why I chose to do it with them. But I would say like there's so many different companies that you can travel or that you can teach English through. But I would also definitely look at the reviews. So on like Glassdoor and stuff, because I did apply and I got a position with like one company in Taiwan, but it was like it had only like 1-star reviews, so I just like didn't do that one. But yeah, I would definitely check. And also, if you already have a TOEFL, you can always just um, apply through the school directly. But it is a little bit harder because you won't get any assistance with like housing or the visa process, which is pretty difficult for specific countries.
Okay, and then I'm curious, is there a cost associated with TEFL?
With the TOEFL, it's usually, so mine was like $40 on Groupon, but some of them are like $1,000. But I think you can easily find ones that are really cheap. Or like with the Anglaville program that I did, I got a free TOEFL, so I didn't even need to pay for one. So I guess now I have two.
And then, okay, so that's great. And then Cheryl was kind of along those same lines, curious about, applying for teaching jobs after that. How easy is it to get hired after you have your certification?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty easy to get hired. You kind of just have to like there's like a really chill interview that you have to do, but besides that, like it's very easy. Some programs you will have to pay for. Like the CIEE one that I did, I had to pay for the program, and I think it was like a couple $100. But um, while you're there, the program pays for your housing, and you get like the salary is around like $2,000 a month, so it's really good. So I feel like that made it worth it to like have to pay for the program itself.
Okay, perfect. I think that helps explain it a lot. If anyone else needs more clarification, just put it in the chat box. Okay, so now switching gears more over to your volunteering. So Rachel was curious, how many hours did you spend volunteering per day and per week while you were doing that?
Yeah, so it was pretty intensive actually. It was probably like 6 hours a day where you're actually speaking like consistently, but also it's like very fun because you can talk about whatever or like gossip. Like for the high schoolers, like we would kind of talk about like drama and like I don't know, like their dating lives, whatever. So it's like it is like work, but it's also like very chill. And then you'll get breaks during the day. And like all of the hotels that I stayed at had like a pool. And yeah, so like at night, all of the volunteers would like go to the pool. And like if you're with adults, you can also drink with them. So like we would also just like go to the bar and chill and stuff like that. So it's like a very chill program. But usually the day is from like 9:30 to like 8:30, but there's like meals in between, and you'll get breaks. So yeah.
Perfect. And so I know in Poland, this is where you did the volunteering. Alex was asking about, is there a specific website for that? Or how could someone go about applying for that as well?
Yeah, I think the website is anglaville.com. Let me just check.
And if not, I was going to say when we send this out to everyone, in a couple of days, we can always include any links that we think are good to share.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it is anglaville.com. So it's like very easy to find, and it's easy to like navigate where to volunteer or where to like sign up.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we have another question from Laura. You talked a little bit when you were talking about booking excursions with the locals. So what are your recommendations on the best ways to do this?
Yeah, so I would say like if you have a few days at a location, like most places have like tourism stands like outside in like the main square or whatever. So just like looking at like what you want to do, and then or if you kind of just like show up at a place, you can just like buy a ticket there. Like when I was in Oaxaca City, there's this mezcal barrel bus tour that we kind of just showed up when we knew the barrel was gonna leave, or like the bus, and we just bought a ticket, and it was like $12. But I think online, if you bought like the whole package on like Viator or like Go-To Guide, like other websites, it would have been a lot more. So yeah, I feel like just like walking around, you'll be able to see a lot of these like places of like where to sign up. Or if you're taking like if you want to take a boat trip to like a small island somewhere, like there's an island near Sayulita that is usually really expensive, like maybe $120 to get to, because it's like a secret cove. But I took a smaller boat to get there, and we kind of negotiated with uh, the like boat driver, and we got it for about like $25 each, which was like a lot better. Yeah.
Perfect. Great recommendations. Okay, we've
Mhm.
got a couple questions now specifically about Mexico. So Jeremy's asking if there's any safety tips for Mexico specifically. Like, is there a common route or cities that backpackers tend to go to?
Mhm.
Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I would say most of the people that I met in Mexico are actually Europeans. So a lot of them fly from like, I think to Mexico City is where most people start, and then they'll take a bus to Oaxaca City or like Puebla and then Oaxaca City, and it's about like uh 5 hours like from each. So then it like gets broken up easier. And then from Oaxaca, you can go to like Puerto Escondido, and then like a lot of people spend some time in San Jose del Pacifico, which is, I don't know, it's like in the mountains and it's beautiful. I haven't been, but it's like a very chill area. And then you can go to Chiapas from there, which is like not very touristy, but it's really cool because there's a lot of indigenous culture, and it was actually one of my favorite places. Um, and then like San Cristobal is one of the most popular cities there for backpackers. And then people usually go to like Palenque, which there are ruins and pyramids, and then like back to Cancun, Tulum, like that region. But when I did Mexico, I did Mexico City, and then I flew to Puerto Vallarta, and then took an hour bus to Sayulita. And then I spent a month in Sayulita, and then I went to Guadalajara, and then um, Oaxaca, or and then Puerto Escondido, Oaxaca, and then Chiapas, and then I came back to Sayulita.
Oh my gosh, I think you're inspiring all of us to go book a trip to Mexico right now. It sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, everyone should.
Right. So Tatiana was curious, have you ever taken an overnight bus in Mexico or just during the day?
Yeah, yeah, I've taken 2 overnight buses, and in terms of like safety, I would say they're like very safe. Like there's a lot of other women, and like there's usually a few backpackers. Um, the only thing is like they might not necessarily be the most comfortable, but like I guess that's okay. And I guess if you're in Oaxaca or like that region, it's also very mountainous, and the bus goes pretty fast. So like it's you might get car sick, but like I was fine for both of the ones that I took. And it's a lot cheaper than flying for sure, because it's about like 25 to 30 US dollars versus a flight would be like over 100. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Let's see, more questions on Mexico. So Mia's
Okay.
curious, how long, well, you've been in Mexico, I think you said for 3 months total, right?
Hmm.
Okay. And then do you have a particular city recommendation if you could only choose one?
I guess city wise, I would say maybe Oaxaca City, because like there's so much to see culturally, and it's like the culinary capital of Mexico, and the food there is amazing. Um, and you can also go to, there's like petrified waterfalls like an hour away, so there's a lot to see near there. And I was there like right before Dia de los Muertos, so it was like really cool seeing all the decorations and stuff.
Oh yeah, but that was amazing.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
beautiful.
All right. So a couple more things for Mexico. So first of all,
Uh-huh.
what is the name of that island off of Sayulita? Does it
Oh,
have?
it's Isla Margaritas.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. And
Yeah.
then how do you think Mexico is for non-Spanish speakers? Is it pretty easy to get around?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty easy. Like I've met a lot of people here who don't speak Spanish, and like they've been able to travel pretty easily. But also like if you do want to learn Spanish, it's also really easy to like meet people here who speak Spanish, and like they're very willing to like talk to you in like your broken Spanish and like kind of help you with that too.
Exactly. Perfect.
Mhm.
All right. So Yanlin, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, has a question about staying in hostels during COVID. So what has that been like, do you think?
Yeah, so I I think it's been pretty safe, but also I've only started traveling since I was vaccinated, and that made me feel a lot better. And the first hostel that I stayed at, like since COVID, was in Guatemala, and like I'm not gonna lie, people don't really wear masks in hostels, but I guess like you would kind of just have to um like stay at your own discretion if you feel safe with it or not. But I guess like if you're already traveling, then there's less of a, or I don't know. But yeah, I guess I wouldn't feel comfortable not necessarily staying at a hostel unless I was vaccinated. So I guess that's just like something you have to consider. But
Okay.
oh, also I would say like in Mexico, they're pretty COVID safe in most places. Like in most cities, there are a lot of mask mandates everywhere, and they do like the hand sanitizer and temperature checks like every time you walk in somewhere. So Mexico's like pretty good with COVID.
Okay, perfect. And then do you plan which hostel you're going to stay at before you get there, or do you do it spur of the moment? What is your thought process around that?
Usually I'll do it like probably a day or two before, just because like unless like I know something's gonna be booked up, then I'll book it earlier. But there's usually always availability, and in Mexico especially, there's a ton of different options, which is really nice. And there are like a few hostels in specific cities that are like very well known for backpackers, so they'll be like more popular. But like the more people you meet just like traveling around, they'll give you a ton of recommendations for hostels, so that helps a lot. I think like most of the hostels that I've been to in Mexico were recommended by like other people. So
That's true. That's such a
yeah,
perfect tip because that's just with anything, get the recommendations and
exactly.
true and tried. Um,
Yeah.
Jeremy, this is a fun, was asking what favorite food that we might not know about in Mexico besides tacos?
Oh, my favorite, I love soup. Like I could eat soup for any meal. And pozole is probably one of my favorite things that I would say is less well known. Have you had it before?
Yes,
It's so good. Oh my
good.
God.
It is. I tried to make it once. It didn't come out as great, but it's really good.
Oh, yeah, I might have to try to make it when I get home because I'll miss it so much.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
good.
You could do that for your Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so Sarah had a question. So, kind of doing what you're doing, do you see older travelers doing this? You know, maybe do you have advice for someone that's over 40? And would
Mhm.
you follow the same tips that you've given?
Yeah, I would say I've met like a few older people traveling, and honestly, I feel like with travelers, age is just like a number because like I feel like mentally, even the older travelers that I meet are like very youthful and like super chill, like down to do anything. So I don't know, I guess it's more about like your mentality, but like if you want to stay in hostels or whatever, like there's always older people staying at the hostels that I see, and like they're always like very cool. And yeah, I feel like I know like some hostels have age maximums, but I think that's for like much older people, like I think like 65 or something. So I would say like yeah, even if you are older, like it's still so worth it, and like you can still meet like really cool people. Um and like if you want to hang out with younger people, then like I like it's super easy too. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think age matters. And we've actually had some people on these TNN calls before who have shared a little bit about doing what you're doing when they're in their retirement stages, and
Oh
they stayed
cool.
at
Oh, I love
hostels.
that.
So yeah, I think
Yeah, yeah.
whatever you're comfortable with, right? But you can make
Mhm.
it work. So
Yeah, exactly.
okay, so Laura, I liked her question. She says she likes meeting friends short term, but misses having that community more long term. So what's
Mhm.
the longest you've traveled with others?
Um, Probably I would say like maybe a month when I was in, well, I wasn't traveling, but in Sayulita, like my friends, it was probably like the longest term I was with. And I know like Carla's here, but I met her in Sayulita and we were together for maybe like a month or like a month and a half because afterwards we went to Guadalajara together and like hung out there, and yeah, it's like I don't know, I feel like if you meet other people that are traveling, it's really, and you get along with them, like it's really easy to be like, oh, like let me change my plans, like I'll just go where you want to go or whatever. Or if you don't, oh, also I would say like don't make plans super far in advance, because if you meet people that you want to travel with, or like you get inspired by where other people are going and you want to do that as well, like um, yeah, it's so much easier to just like jump on that instead of like having your plans already like planned out like weeks or months in advance. So yeah.
Good tip. And I love it. Carla had said that earlier in the chat that you guys met in Sayulita. That is just so awesome.
Yeah. She
That's
was
what
my first.
travel, yeah, that's what traveling's all about. So cool.
Yeah, oh for sure.
Okay, Rachel had a question. Where do you store your things at home when you travel? Do you have a lease or rent that you have to keep up with, or what do you do?
So I was living in Chicago, but I moved home during COVID. So everything that I have is like at my parents' house, and I'm kind of trying to sell that as I'm traveling. And yeah, so I guess just like at my parents' house, which I'm really lucky to be able to do. But I also know I have met people traveling who have like their own apartments that they leave stuff in, and then they also like Airbnb out their apartments like while they're traveling. So if you want to make money with that.
Okay. Oh my goodness. So many amazing things you shared with us today. I feel like everyone wants to go quit their job if they haven't already and go travel. And I know there are a lot of people on this call that are planning to in 2022. So I think this will be a good, step forward for them to hear your presentation and go make the leap and do it. So this is awesome. It's been so wonderful. I think I answered everyone's questions. If I didn't, feel free to just pop it in. But if not, I sent in the chat box Nicole's contact information. So you can follow her blog, follow her on Instagram. I know she has lots of great topics on all of that, and you can just follow along with her travels. So Nicole, before I share my screen one more time, did you have anything else you wanted to tell the group or share with the group?
I don't think so, but yeah, I definitely post a lot of like travel tips or like kind of just like things that I've seen on Instagram and TikTok. It's Who Travels the World, or like if you have any other questions, you can definitely DM me, and I'll like answer all of the questions that you have.
Perfect. We're so excited to watch your travels. And I love, this is what I was telling her before y'all got on the call. I love that she's just sitting out there in Sayulita. Like that's the perfect nomadic life and perfect way to have the presentation. So I know